believe Israeli system is apartheid. I may disagree, but they have the right to do it. And I got very upset when people try to close them down and say they shouldn't be funded. Like, what's wrong? I mean, university is meant to be a place where you discuss these issues, you know. So I'm with you on that. I don't. It's very, well, take away your funding, we'll make life difficult for you. No, I would support you on that. I mean, again, I'm not a libertarian, I don't believe everything should be allowed, but I do believe that most things, especially at university, should be discussed openly. So yeah, I'll be with you on that. But I really don't know that much about it, I have to be honest. And, you know, I'm not from here, but I would. Oh, this one.
I just wanted to point out that if you guys are interested in that issue of the different campuses and the pro-life groups, there's a really good documentary by one of our former AMS presidents, Ethan Rabideau, now a journalism student. He wrote a documentary called The Silent Scream, and you can find it on YouTube, and he talks about all of those, so if you're interested in finding out more, someone from close to home too.
I want to go to a unique question, and go to...
Thanks a lot. Before I go to my question, I'd just like to ask if we could talk about if you could send me your sources on abortion.
Oh, sure.
I don't really
they will book.
You can tell me after.
You don't believe me?
I'll
bore you solid, but I'll certainly.
But my actual question is, I really appreciate kind of like a lot of your views, like your concern about poverty and that kind of thing. The one thing I found like really contrary in your point of view, though, is that you are against public funding. Because the reason I think that's contrary is because I think you've touched on this, is that back alley abortions always occur when abortion is not accessible. Because there's always someone in the population who really just feels like they can't go through with it, and you acknowledge that it's terrible, terrible situations that this happens in.
Oh, yeah.
So the reason why I find your point contradictory is because if you take away public funding, women who are wealthy, women who are privileged can always find a place to go. They can go to another country, they can find a place to have a safe, legal abortion. But if you take away public funding, the people you are really hurting is the women who are poor and the women who live in rural areas because they don't have those resources. So by taking away public funding, what you're really doing is not really affecting the middle class and upper class, but you're really hurting the women, you know, who are poor and maybe they don't have anywhere to turn to. I think you're really like forcing them into a corner where they don't really have any other avenues to choose other than abortion.
I think it's a very good point, and it's well made. I mean, there's something to that. I respond like this. The abortion, when I say abortion industry, you're probably thinking I'm being pejorative there, but there is a lot of money involved. Now, there are doctors who sincerely believe this is a service, really do. There are other doctors who aren't like that, and they do make a lot of money out of it. If it really is such a public service, and this is not my ideal world, I'm talking about from the practicality here, then you would have a scale of who you would charge and who you wouldn't. And those women who could afford would pay, and they would subsidize those who couldn't.
That's what the public system is, though, because it's paid for
No,
by taxes.
exactly, but it's elective surgery. Now, I'm very supportive of socialized medicine. You know, some of my friends, whatever Barack Obama may be, and I think he's been a very weak president in terms of foreign policy and what he said he would do about the war and Guantanamo, I think he's failed. But I do believe in healthcare reform. And anyone who knows the States well will know, putting aside what is known as the underclass, which is quite an ugly term, there are massive middle class who have insurance until they have that heart disease or that cancer and they can't get reinsurance. It's a horrible system. It's not because the Americans have had. Our system doesn't work properly. I looked at Germany or France. I think they have. You can have some private medicine, but anyway, that's another argument. But it's elective surgery. I think, I love what we have. If you're ill, you go to the doctor, you don't pay a penny. That's the way it should be. But this is elective surgery. And if you do elect life of the mother, that would be a different argument. But that's very unusual. I mean, normally, I elect, I do not. For whatever reason, it could be a reason you think is valid, I just can't in this data, or I just don't want to. It is your choice to do that, to use your phraseology. It's elective. And I don't understand why that should be covered under the Canadian medical system. And there is enough money in the realm of abortion that, again, it could be subsidized by those who have more if they really believe in the cause, so those who have less can afford it. I don't want anyone to have an abortion, but I really don't believe for a moment that this idea that without funding, only the poor would suffer. There are all sorts of ways to provide, but look, I understand your position, it's entirely valid one, but you know what, I don't really think. It's not about you, but the thing about funding abortion, it's not about providing abortion to the poor. it's a political statement that it has to be normalized. It has to be part of our system. It's just the same as having a broken arm fixed or having an organ seen to. It's saying to people abortion is entirely acceptable and it's a standard medical practice. I think that's what the argument is. Your argument is far more civilized. You believe in equality. So someone who's poor should have the same right as someone who's wealthy. I understand that, but I really don't believe that is what is behind the push for complete public funding. Because whenever I've argued this with people, and you start to push about the sort of people who have abortions, what are their income, and you think, well, the funding is not actually essential, but it is an absolute. You will not touch anything connected with this. And when we're in Ontario, Dalton McGuinty, before he was elected, he's not a bad man at all, but before he was elected, because of my niece, I've been involved with autism in the community here, he promised funding for autism. And this is a very vulnerable community. These aren't powerful people. You know. If you speak to parents of autistic children, often they're removing their house. I mean, it's really. And as soon as he got into office, he said, I've changed my mind. And when he made the speech at Queen's Park, he couldn't even make eye contact with people. They didn't demonstrate, they were just sitting up there. He couldn't make eye contact with them. And it was a bloody thing for him to do. But when it comes to abortion funding, the issue must not be touched. It's a political statement rather than an equality position, I believe. Thanks. Just anything, again, you can ask the questions of the gentleman here.
Yeah, I also agree with a lot of the positions that you've taken in terms of poverty and those types of issues.
I know you do.
And I think it's completely possible to be a social conservative and to be a leftist on economic issues, so I don't think it's that surprising.
You know what it is?
It's not that incoherent.
Okay. I'm a Catholic. I know, you know, that's what it comes down to. It's Catholic social teaching. And that's really
Yep, oh, yeah, definitely. But a lot of Canadian Catholics are pro-choice. But
a lot of Canadian Catholics aren't really Catholic. They're more Canadian than Catholic.
But you also contravene the Vatican on certain of your views in terms of homosexuality. They actually go further than the Vatican. So we can disagree with the Vatican at times. I do as well as you. But my question is that...
Where do I disagree with the Vatican on homosexuality?
From my understanding, some of your previous writings take a fairly heavy-handed. Well, I've read some of your stuff just in terms of in Sun Media.
It's not Wikipedia, is it?
No, I'm a PhD student in political science, so
I wasn't trying to be rude. I'm really not.
Could I just ask my question? Is that the abortion debate in Canada tends to revolve around or pivot on bodily integrity of the body. So the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled that both women and men have a right to their bodily integrity.
Yeah.
Section 15, the equality rights section, is a very important section. So I'm just wondering if we can just get down to that basic issue. Why should male citizens have the right to their bodily integrity and female citizens not be allowed the right to their bodily integrity?
That's a great question.
Because I think that's the crux of the issue.
Yeah, well, I think they both should be.
But it contravenes a woman's bodily integrity to not allow her to do what she wants with her own body.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I agree completely.
So you're pro-choice?
If a woman was told, you can't dye your hair, but the man can, or you can't, no, let's be more political than that. You want major cosmetic surgery to change the way you look. A man can have it, a woman can't. Well, it's about a third life, it's about another life. If a man has a life, it's not about, it's not, you might want to think of it, it's not, well, I think I'll pick on women. If men had, if the men had babies in them, the world would be a very different place, wouldn't it, because of power and so on. But it's about the life of the child.
But human rights accrue to citizens, and is the child yet a
citizen?
And why
do they?
Why do you, well, I'm just saying, why can you contravene the rights of an existing citizen, of a female citizen?
Hold on, you might want to rephrase that.
Only Canadians have a right to life?
No, I don't think
no, what I'm saying is that in any political entity.
Okay. No, you probably misspoke.
No, what I'm saying is that...
So only citizens have human
Sorry,
rights.
if you could just finish his question before
Yeah. All I'm saying is that we're talking in terms of the charter, right? Okay, so we're talking about the fact that, and we're talking about human rights. You talked before about how you're a big proponent of human rights.
Yeah.
So one human right is gender equality. And what I'm saying is that how can you tell a citizen what they are to do or not do with their own body when they have a right to bodily integrity?
If you did mean rights only for citizens, and I disagree with you, terribly. And I'm not sure if you really meant that, because there are all sorts of people in this country who are not citizens, and I believe they have the same human rights as a citizen.
What I'm talking about is, like, this includes people who are landed immigrants. I'm talking about, because the Charter applies to them. The Charter applies. The Charter doesn't apply to an unborn child. Right. How can it? Because it will violate the life of a pre-existing citizen.
Now, so I don't think, well, if you mean citizens, I disagree with you. I think all people have human rights.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about all the people in Canada.
No, forget Canada. All people.
I know, but we were talking in the context. We were talking in the context of the Charter, right? So.
Well, no, actually, I wasn't. You weren't. I understand why.
That was the question.
Okay, I don't actually. I couldn't really care less about the Charter. I think.
I know. I imagine you don't like the Charter very much, even though it gives you your freedom of